Hi, I'm Barbara Wesley, your host of Cibola Treasures. This will be our last viewing of the Seven Cities Productions and Double J Media Group Cibola Treasures show. So this is what we have featured just for you. This show features Michael Dodds, who's with the Cibola County DWI program, and we have a very special event coming up this soon. It's the Historical Society annual banquet and entertainment with Joe Diaz. And then Manny Vasquez is going to be with us, and Solo Works. Solo Works is doing so much in our community, making changes and bringing our community into the 21st century. So stay tuned.
Parents, schools, and the local DWI program all work together to educate our youth regarding alcohol and drug abuse. These young adults and parents experience firsthand what it is like to drive and even walk while under the influence of alcohol or drugs. The school has encouraged the DWI program to utilize their facility in order to demonstrate what impaired driving is like.
We're going to impair your vision a little bit, so decision-making skills are going to be tougher. Okay, your time frame's probably going to slow down a little bit. We're going to see what happens.
I can't do this. Can I go?
An impaired brain exhibits slurred speech, slow reaction time, dulled hearing, impaired vision, and weakened muscles. Alcohol and drugs impact the brain for several hours after consumption. The morning after a night on the town, a driver's brain is still impaired. For 32 years, Angela and Larry Baca have owned the famous El Cafecito Restaurant in Grants. El Cafecito has been at this location for 20 years. In their new building for 8 years. Quite a difference. For 32 years, the food and service has not changed. Always made fresh every day. You will be welcomed by the friendly staff. Begin the day with breakfast. So many choices. Maybe it's their famous prize-winning El Cafecito burrito, one of the top 10 in the state of New Mexico. Customers are always happy with great food.
Good morning. I enjoy Al Caf. I enjoy the Larry Special. We come every Friday. This whole group right here.
We come to El Cafecito for the good food and the atmosphere and the friendship of everybody in the community.
The taco plate is great for lunch. Any time of the day is just right to get your chili fix, with the green chili cheeseburger and all the fixins. Having a party or in need of a meeting room? The state-of-the-art electronics will accommodate you. Plus, great menu options to select from. El Cafecito offers catering for special occasions too. In a hurry? For fast service, the drive-up window is just for you. Just call in your order at 285-6229 to get your meal on the go. What makes El Cafecito so special? The food, of course. The friendly, efficient staff. You will find Larry and Angela Baca working side by side with their staff. Plus, their diligent oversight has made El Cafecito famous throughout the Southwest. Visitors from all over the country stop at El Cafecito too. It's El Cafecito for all of your New Mexican food delights. One of those delights are the sopapillas. For 16 years, San Juan de Montoya has been preparing them fresh every day. Just the right dessert to end your meal. El Cafecito is located at 820 East Santa Fe Avenue, or call 505-285-6229 to place your to-go order or to schedule your next event.
Welcome to this segment of Cibola Treasures. In our studio today is Shelley Fawcett. And Shelley, reintroduce yourself to the community.
Yeah, so I direct the SolarWorks Cibola program, and we help people get jobs that they can do over the internet in order to bring new money into the local economy.
Okay, very good. Now, traditionally, you've had maybe up to 10 people working at a time or so, right?
Yeah.
For different companies that you've represented over the past.
Yeah.
And so that's been a pretty consistent thing. But there's some exciting things that are happening now that are going to be changing the climate, the work climate in our county and in our region even. So why don't you talk about this very newest one?
Yeah, so we just partnered with an outfit out of Utah called the Rural Online Initiative, and they actually help people certify in doing remote work. And it's a recognized certification. It's about a month long, and it is approved by the Society for Human Resource Management, and it can do everything to help you get ready for your remote work career. And it also helps you, figure out what you want to do remotely.
Sure. Okay, because there are all kinds of jobs that are coming forth, right?
Right.
So someone that wants a certification, and not just simply saying, well, I went to work for SolarWorks and I did this and this. Now they've got this certification that they can say, I can do all of these things. And what are some of those things?
Oh, well, so we still have medical billing and coding, medical transcription, there's customer service. We have new partners in customer service that are pretty exciting, full-time benefited positions. And then, there's translation, transcription, editing, writing, there's social media management, virtual assisting. There's just so many options for things you can do if you want to work online.
Okay. So what is it that you're pushing for right now?
Right now we are recruiting for a cohort of people to go through and get the remote work certificate. We're packaging it with our digital literacy skills. We partnered with Grow with Google to be able to offer digital literacy curriculum. And then we also have an application materials workshop. So that's all about getting your resumes and cover letters ready. But more than that, it's about building a personalized database of stuff about yourself that you can use to easily customize a cover letter or resume on the fly.
Okay. Now, several years ago, I had the privilege of doing the economic impact study for the university. Have you had an opportunity to determine the economic impact of your program?
Have not, because it's changed so radically and so much in the last year that it's constantly evolving. But we do know some pretty exciting things, which is that, for example, with the medical billing and coding, the average starting salary is $40K a year, and we have several people enrolled in that and pursuing that. And so, that's pretty exciting to be able to take a relatively short course on your own time and have a starting salary that actually has a shot at supporting you. So that's pretty exciting.
That's right. And we have so many people that would prefer to work at home.
Right.
For various reasons.
Right.
And I think of one person right now that is caring for an ailing parent with tremendous skills, but is unable to get out because of the necessity of her commitment to her family.
And that's something we see a lot, whether it's parents that have to stay at home with their kids, or maybe it's someone in a caregiving situation. Or another thing is that we've partnered with DVR in helping people who are disabled and not able to work outside the home. So there's just a lot of reasons that someone may want to work from home, and not just for those reasons, but so many. lack of a commute, being able to have opportunity that's local to you, and so on and so forth.
Sure. Well, it would be great. What I would like to see, I know that you and Eileen Yarbrough work very, very closely. She's got her hands full, but I would like to see an economic impact study done as a result of SoloWorks, because there's so many people in our community that are really not aware of the impact that this has made on the lives of our citizens.
Right, and I think that's a great idea. That's definitely something we should pursue.
And so tell us some more about, you got that one cohort for certification, but you've got another one that you're wanting to do.
Yeah, so we're also bringing people in for medical billing and coding and for medical transcription, and that's through a partner, Career Step. And Career Step is on the eligible training providers list, meaning that if you're eligible for WIOA funds and WIOA funding, that you can actually get your tuition covered. So if you want to try it out and go through the process, you can always apply and see whether that works. And then if you're local to us, you don't qualify for any other funding, whether it's through DVR or WIOA, we actually do have some scholarships available that we are looking to award. So
Super. Now, you mentioned something just very briefly, writing. What does that entail?
it kind of depends on what kind of writing someone's after. Are they looking for copywriting? Are they wanting to do writing itself, it opens a whole can of worms, and so it kind of depends on what somebody wants to do in specific. But I've got a lot of ways to get somebody started in exploring that.
Okay, very good. And so you mentioned some other things. Now, there's some of the other programs that you've had for a long period of time. Let's kind of refresh our audience about some of those.
Right, so customer service has been a big one. We have had that going on. We've had people working there doing customer service for over a year now, doing the same customer service stuff. And
for different companies.
For different companies.
Right, mm-hmm. So when we say customer service, it's not Verizon only, and some of these are major companies.
Right. So one of the big partnerships we just recently made is with Concentrix, and they have just merged with Convergys, if you've heard of them before, and they have agreed to prioritize people that we send them. So if you come through us and you're looking to be able to work from home and you want to do customer service, they let us know what they're looking for, and we bring people through the process, and we're able to help track their progress through the application and figure out if something goes amiss. But more than that, they have agreed to prioritize people we send them, so that's really exciting.
Okay, so what else has been going on? Because there's just so much. We need an hour to cover everything, but we're trying to condense this down to a short time. So let's talk about some other things that you're involved in and in the future.
Right. So we are, as I mentioned, we're working with DVR. Mostly so far that's been DVR out of Las Vegas, New Mexico, but we are contracted. We do have a contract where we can help anybody throughout the state through DVR. So, and then, we have, again, medical billing and coding, medical transcription. We have people who are pursuing being able to teach English online. That it can be pretty lucrative as well, because there's a huge demand for native speaking English speakers to teach, particularly individuals out of Asia, specifically China.
Sure.
And the hours there are kind of wild. Usually, I did it myself before, and I was waking up at 4 a.m., but it's a pretty great gig. So that was exciting. So we have people who are looking to do that. So we have people taking TESOL and TEFL certifications. Another thing we've got is, now that we partnered with Grow with Google, and so they have a lot of services for small business, for job seekers, for veterans, and also they have their whole digital literacy curriculum, so we help we can deliver that, which is pretty exciting. And then also through the partnership with Grow with Google, there's Google Professional IT Support certification that we're looking to be able to switch on pretty soon. And again, the really exciting one right now that I'm really gung-ho about is the remote work certification, because it's something you can put on your resume. It's industry recognized, it's exciting, and it demonstrates that you have those skills to be able to work remotely. So that's pretty exciting for us.
Okay. So what do you see in the coming year? I mean, this last year has been a wild ride.
It has been a wild ride. In the next year, I would like to really be able to ramp up what we do. So over the last several months, we've been trying to make more and more of our process streamlined and as remote as possible out of our process, because not only people are looking to work remotely. Well, our intake process is now more remote than it used to be, that which helps prepare you for what the remote world is like, but also makes it so we can help a lot more people. So that's really exciting as well. And so, I think in the month of I think it was in the month of May, I think we had about 40 new people sign up, which was really exciting. And we want to be able to help people from all over. Another thing is that we are looking to move into a new co-working space, and so we're really excited about that. We haven't finalized the details on that yet, but we do hope to be able to have a new space, and we're really excited about that as well.
Wonderful. Well, I know that there's been some challenges that you've had to overcome. And so I would like to see us as a community come and really support SoloWorks so that these challenges are diminished. I mean, there's always going to be some, right? I mean,
Sure.
that's the nature of business,
Right.
But if we can come and really support SoloWorks, and while we're at it, why don't you tell them where you're located right now?
Right now we're located on the second floor of the Joe Fidel building on NMSU Grants campus. That's the gym. And you walk in, go up the stairs, and that's where we are.
Okay. And so if someone is interested in any of these things, do you have a telephone number that you can schedule an appointment?
Yes, but actually the best thing to do if you're interested is to go to www.soloworks.org, and then there's a little button that says sign up, join the revolution. You'll click that and it'll bring up a form, and then that'll help us gather some information on like what kind of stuff you're looking for, what your current situation is, and then we can reach out to you and schedule something or take you through the steps and talk to you about it. So that is the best way, because that way we have all that information. We're prepared for that first phone call.
Okay, super. Well, it's exciting. It's been
exciting.
exciting from the very beginning, and it becomes more exciting as we go through this process. And so I believe that SoloWorks is really going to it already has made an impact on our community, but I believe that it's going to make an even greater impact. And the next thing I would, of course, like to see is this economic impact study, just to see what this means so that we as a community can embrace this program wholeheartedly.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, it's my pleasure. And it's always our pleasure to bring news to you. It's brought to you by Double J Media, Seven Cities Productions, Comcast, and our phenomenal sponsors. Thank you.
Fast, reliable internet is here, and it's local.
My name is Robert Windhorst. When my wife went back to school to become a teacher, our internet service was terrible. Sacred Wind came into our area and we signed up. It has great service.
Hi, I'm Amanda Valdez and I am a teacher. Thinking of pursuing my master's degree, I knew that it couldn't have been possible before. Sacred Wind Internet made it possible to obtain my degree online.
Connect 66 Internet. Fast, reliable, and local. Powered by Sacred Wind.
Hi, I'm Johnny Head, and this is...
Hi, I'm Paul Milan. I'm the historian for the Cibola County Historical Society.
And we're here to tell you about our upcoming banquet in August 10th at La Ventana. And Paul knows the speaker that's going to be there, so he'll have details on the speaker. The time is at 5 o'clock. We have cocktails at 5, dinner at 6, and the speaker at 6:45.
Right. And our speaker is going to be Joe Diaz. He's a Grant citizen. He was born here, raised here. I got to know him quite well. He's living in Albuquerque. He's an attorney that's been serving Albuquerque and New Mexico. I met Joe when he was in the 6th grade, and I was probably in the 10th grade. The new band director started a program, had 6th graders to learn music, and he brought them over to the band room to play sometimes with us. We had a football game in Albuquerque with Sacred Heart, and as we were loading the bus, Joe's mother came with Joe and said, "Would you take care of my son on this trip?" And that was the first time I really met him. So he came in, we sat down, and it was funny as we were, everywhere we'd go, because we were walking around the area, some of the people were with us, "Why is that kid following us?" But there was Joe. Anyway, we played, I was St. Mary's, I said something wrong, St. Mary's. They beat us 60-3. We had one of the best kickers in New Mexico.
Oh,
that's
dear.
where we got the 3. But, well, what happened, all the students from St. Mary's were jeering us to get in the bus, and they didn't have a band. So they said, "We're the best football player around." And we yelled back there, "We're the best band here." But that's how I got to know Joe. And as I grew up and played more in the band, and that band director was so good. He had a series of bands, and he had a dance band, and Joe played with us in the dance band.
I believe he's attorney now in Albuquerque.
Yeah, he's an attorney. He's been an attorney for quite a while. He actually, when he graduated, he went to New Mexico Tech, and I understand that because they have some guys come out and pick a student and then try to talk them into going to school. They did that with me, and I said, my worst grades is math, and they said, "We'll give you a full-time tutor." And I said, "I don't know if I like that," but so I think they did that to Joe. He stayed there for a year, and he said, "I really want to go into accounting." And so he got his degree in accounting and got his master's in accounting, and that's when he said, "I want to go to law school." So he went to law school.
But I've heard he's got a great sense of humor.
Oh, yeah, it's a laugh minute.
Yeah.
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 He talks. He has stories about everything and everybody in Grants. He had so many relatives in Grants that if he ran for anything here, he could actually win just from his relatives. He was, of course, he was a Diaz, and he has all the Diaz family. His mother's, his grandmother on the mother's side, grandmother, her husband died, and she married
Charlie.
No, well, the grandmother.
Oh, the grandmother.
Married, I forgot the name. Anyway, so he was related then to 2 families to this thing. So he had family all over. And if you ever been, he used to invite me to sometimes a Christmas time party or something like that. And they were just a jolly family. Unfortunately, his mother died when he was still in high school, and it was a very sad time for everybody because she was such a nice person. Mm-hmm. And but he had a lot of aunts and a lot of uncles, and he just kept going on. He worked with his dad at their garage, mm-hmm. and he built his own little car, a little old Ford. And he was always over town. You would see him with all his friends back up and down downtown.
I read about their work together, and I understood that at one time he thought they might have garages all over New Mexico. That was his idea.
Yeah, that's at that time.
Right.
Yeah, he always thought big.
Mm-hmm.
Joe did.
Yeah.
He was a staunch Republican.
Oh,
and
that's unusual.
When I finished my schooling, and came back to Albuquerque to start looking for a job. That's when I got my master's degree, and so he was very helpful. He called me one time and he said, I want you to meet Domenici. And Domenici had just run for governor and lost. And we had lunch, and everybody was trying to get him to run for senator. And he had lunch, and he said, I'm a Republican. Republicans don't win. I just lost for governorship. And I told him, I said, you know, well, I was living in Las Cruces when you were running. I said, nobody knew who you are, Domenici who, but they all know you now. Mm-hmm. I said, you might give it a chance. And Joe talked him into it. And in fact, they sat there and talked about, the plan was if he won, they would set up a partnership as attorneys in Albuquerque. And he says, well, I know as a Republican in New Mexico, if I win, it'll only be one time. And what we'll do is you set up the office, and I'll meet people and I'll send you business. And then when I get out, when I lose a second time, we'll have a thing together. And
you know,
he won, and he kept winning. And Joe says, he ain't coming back.
Right.
I better go on my own. And
yeah,
that was his deal. He'd actually be like a family member to us. He grew up with all my kids, and the only thing he did is he was always so busy that he'd come to see us at 11 o'clock in the evening, or when we were in bed, he'd come in and visit. He did that quite a lot of times. And one time he showed up, and I said, my mother had this green chili. Actually, one of his aunts had this green chili. And she used to do a lot of chili, and it was too hot. She gave it to my mother. My mother said, hey, it's too hot, so she brought it over to my wife and I. Joe showed up that night, and I said, Joe, we got some chili that you can't eat and I can't eat. And we brought it out and sat down, and we ate the whole thing that night. But anyway.
Anyway, we think it'll be fun, don't we?
Yeah.
It'll be a fun dinner.
He's got so many stories.
Yeah. It'll be fun for everybody. So now we'd like to invite you to come to our dinner in August, the 10th. And I was thinking about this after I thought about it. We start at 6, not at 5. So you'll come at 6 for drinks, 6:30 for dinner, 6:45 as a speaker. We're going to have a silent auction, and we've gathered up some most interesting items for you to see. So I think you'll have a great time. The tickets are $25 a person, or 2 for $45, and any member of the Historical Society can help you with tickets, or you can call us. My number is 505-290-0171, and I'd be glad to take your message and have a ticket brought to you. So we hope to see you. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's always time for a checkpoint or saturation patrols. DWI and DUI are two of the major causes of accidents and deaths in New Mexico. Impaired driving is dangerous. Every 12 minutes, someone dies in an automobile crash. This could be you or someone you love. If we don't stop you, something else will.
Fast, reliable internet is here, and it's local.
Hi, I'm Mike Gonzalez, IT Director for the Village of Milan.
And I'm Robert Ramirez, the Computer Lab Moderator.
We have fiber optic service through Sacred Wind, and it has allowed us to create our computer lab.
Hi, I am Amanda Valdez, and I am a teacher. Thinking of pursuing my master's degree, I knew that it couldn't have been possible before. Sacred Wind Internet made it possible to obtain my degree online.
Connect 66 Internet. Fast, reliable, and local. Powered by Sacred Wind. A name you know. A product you trust.
Welcome to this segment of Cibola Treasures. We're here with Michael Dodds, and we're having a cup of coffee. Hope you'll pull up a chair and enjoy your cup of coffee or cup of tea or whatever it is that you're enjoying. And we're going to talk about some things that Michael Dodd does. So Michael, why don't you tell our audience what your role is in our community today?
So essentially what my role is to do everything within my power and within the agency's power in our county to stop DWI and underage drinking. Alcohol abuse is very prevalent in our county, and we have a lot of work to do. We've been making some good progress, but we've got a ways to go.
That's right.
We still have some numbers that really kind of scary.
Well, let's talk about your program and what it does. So if, for example, someone is stopped and they're given a citation and then they go before the judge, what happens next after that?
So once you're sentenced and you're placed on a probation, they call it compliance with DWI, depending on whether it's your first, second, or third, or fourth offense, you can be misdemeanors first through third, and you could be felony, fourth offense, and thereafter. Our program does all of the misdemeanor offenders. Historically, what happens is a lot of them get sentenced to, they get pled down to a misdemeanor, so we have a lot of people who actually are on the third, fourth, or fifth DWIs, and they're still in a misdemeanor setting. But we take them in, we set them up with counseling, therapy, treatment. We have them take a DWI class. We supervise all of those things, make sure that they get those completed. We make sure they complete community service. We have access to a lot of different resources, so we try to identify what the offender's needs are. Do they need a job? Do they need an education? Do they need like further mental health assistance or guidance? And what we do is try to connect them to those resources so that they're not without the need, or they're not without what they need.
Right. Well, you had mentioned earlier about people being, that if there was a tendency in their DNA to be alcoholics. And this is just my opinion, as I've seen the things that people gravitate toward. For example, if the church happens to be the center of all their activity, what are they going to be doing? They're going to be going to church. But they're going to be involved in their church. But if their family has this propensity to be out partying and spending their money on alcohol and so forth, that's their environment, not their DNA.
Right.
And so I think that has something to do with why we see so much, and that's just my unprofessional opinion.
Right.
But I think that there are some environmental and societal things that impact what we do.
I think that's more the part of it. I don't believe in the whole genetic predisposition at all. I think it's a social factor. Like you said, it's a mental health factor. I think that's probably one of the biggest of them. And it's a physical health. Some people use alcohol or use substances to deal with physical health problems. So
that's right.
It all rolls back into how are you doing physically, mentally, and what's your social situation.
And then you said mental, but if a person can't deal with challenges in their lives, okay, and they don't know how to do this, that gets them out of that. They can retreat into alcohol.
Right, and I think that's a lot of what addictions are. You have video games that, children have a lot of stresses that they deal with in life, with school and chores at home and struggles with other children that they don't get along with bullying and whatnot. And a lot of them try to retreat into things like video games or sports or whatever. Every human being has some sort of attachment to an addiction. Some are healthy addictions, some are less healthy addictions.
Well, years ago, I attended a conference, and it was a psychological conference, and this man said every human being is addicted. To be human is to be addicted. So, I have an addiction to food. You put it in front of me, I'm on this diet, I see food diet.
Right.
So I know that. And then there are other things in my background that have made me vulnerable to seeing something that needs to be done when it's not my responsibility to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've taken on things that I should never have taken on.
And I tend to do that. Our program has 8 components to it, and I do everything I can to try to utilize every component of the program. Our funding is usually pretty limited. I mean, we get a portion of the liquor excise tax that comes from the state. That is historically getting lesser and lesser because of our microbreweries and the tax breaks and incentives that they're being given to run here in New Mexico. So those sales have gone up, which brings our taxes down. And we have so many things that we can do. Like, it's a multifaceted thing. Like, we talk about it's with the mental health, or we talk about that it's because of social issues, or talk because about it being a lack of resource. Our program is open to a very broad range of things that we can do, that we can address, but the amount of funding that we have to address each and every one of those components, it's limited, so it makes it kind of tough. We do, going back to what we were talking about earlier, is we have treatment, we have screening, we have compliance, we have, which is the probation part I told you about, and then we also have a prevention component, and that prevention component is huge. We have to be out there in schools. We have to be educating these kids, the dangers of alcohol. We can't go up to any of these kids and say, don't you ever do it, don't you ever do it, because, let's face it, we were all children. We all tried things when we were children. We have to tell them, this is the consequence. This is what it looks like. And we have to show them those realities. But in that same hand, if we're not working in the enforcement component, which is another one of our components, out there, holding people responsible for abusing alcohol, whether it's adults providing alcohol to minors, 4th degree felony, whether it's minors that are driving under the influence, where's the parent's responsibility in that? Our enforcement component, we've actually blown it up quite largely. We have 7 agencies in our county. All 7 agencies are a part of our task force. We're actively hunting for people that are drinking and driving. Just 2 nights ago, it's really sad, there was an accident on I-40 and a young lady was killed. I don't have the full details of everything, but this is happening every day, multiple times every day across the country, that these DWIs, these people that are driving while under the influence or driving while intoxicated, whether it's medications or alcohol, they're murdering people.
Right.
They're actively making the decision to drink or to get high and then get behind the wheel. Right. And I think that we need to start pushing much harder on that, making it much more consequential. And I think that'll help us, along with educating the youth about it. But it doesn't stop at the youth. We need to have more prevention programs on the adult side too. And that's something that, if we had better funding, we could bring more preventionists in to start working with adult programs. We have our Future Family Foundation Center, which it's for the family. There's so many programs we could be hosting there.
Right.
That would be addressing the adults and teaching the adults, hey, this is why your kid's doing this. This is how you can handle some of the things that your children are doing. But without the funding to bring in specialists to do that stuff, we kind of are left with a little bit of a gap. And so, and it just rolls from one component to the other component. And ultimately it all comes down to funding, but it also comes down to the heart. How many people in our community really want to step up and say, I want to help. I want to be a part of this. What can I do? And not be of the mindset, what's in it for me though? Volunteers is what we need. We need people that are willing to step up and do this stuff because it's what they want for the community, not because it's a good way to make some cash.
Right. That's right.
That's my biggest peeve about the whole thing, is everybody was about making money.
Well, I headed a literacy program several years ago, and when we went out to a variety of places outside of the city, and we were looking for tutors, and they would say, well, how much are you going to pay me? Well, this is a volunteer organization, right? So I understand that, because we didn't have the resources we could help them with if they had to travel. we could help them with mileage or something, but we could not pay them a salary or an hourly wage, right? So I understand that. And, you know, I've said for years, and this has been, people have gotten tired of, I haven't said this for a long time, so maybe it's new to some of our viewers, but a volunteering community is a strong community. Whether you're volunteering, whatever it is that you're wanting to volunteer for, that makes our community stronger. So I think that is a component that we need to encourage. That whatever you're passionate about, if you're a gardener and you just love to beautify things, then our city needs more of that. I mean, it could be any number of things that you could volunteer for.
It goes back historically. I mean, if you take a look at the beginning of our country, I mean, it wasn't like all of the people that decided to fight in the war to separate us from England were going to get paid to do it. I mean, they were like, we've had enough. We're getting together as a community, and we're going to free ourselves from this.
Well, look at our first president.
Exactly.
He would not accept any remuneration for being president. Could we tell our congressmen today, or our legislators today,
right,
or our governor, you're not going to get paid. You're going to have to volunteer to do this. That would change. Maybe it would change our society a little bit. We're going to take a quick break and come back because we have some more information that we need to share with the public, and especially when it comes to, and we're going to take these apart one by one, these statistics that you're going to share with us, okay? So stay tuned. Don't go away. We'll be right back with Michael Dodds.
It's always time for a checkpoint or saturation patrols. DWI and DUI are two of the major causes of accidents and deaths in New Mexico. Impaired driving is dangerous. Every 12 minutes, someone dies in an automobile crash. This could be you or someone you love. If we don't stop you, something else will.
Well, we're back with Michael Dodds, the DWI Program Director and for Cibola County, and we're talking about the scope right now of what the DWI program covers, but then there's so much more that we need to share with our audience. So let's start talking about some of the statistics. Let's take them one by one and talk about them.
Okay. I'm not very good at remembering numbers, so I have to
That's okay.
I have to have my notes with me every now and then.
That's fine.
So alcohol-related motor vehicle crash deaths in Cibola County was 11.6 per 100,000 population.
Now, so when was this?
This is from the 2018 New Mexico Substance Abuse Epidemiology.
Okay, so there were 11 deaths. 11 deaths.
11.6 per 100,000. That's the rate.
Okay.
And so that's 2.6% statewide. So of all the deaths statewide, that's 2.6%.
Okay.
And at 2.6%, doesn't sound like a very large number, but when you take into account that puts us, Cibola County, as the 5th highest county in the state.
For deaths due to DWI. So
due
that's
to alcohol-related motor vehicle deaths.
So we've got Santa Fe and Albuquerque and Roswell and Las Cruces and Socorro and all of these other communities that are much larger than we are.
Right.
And yet we're kind of leading the band, aren't we?
We are, and we're a part of District 6. So these numbers are based off of county and district. So District 6 is leading the state altogether. So that's McKinley County and Cibola County and portions of Valencia County, I believe. And it's a very large district. But that so the New Mexico rate is 3.9. So we're at almost 3 times that rate. We're almost 3 times higher than the state rate.
We're higher than the state rate, right?
More than 3 times higher.
More than 3 times higher than the state rate.
Right.
And these are deaths. These are people that actually die. I mean, these people are gone from their families. They're gone from their jobs. They're gone, period.
Right. And I don't have the exact statistics on it, but more often than not, it's the alcoholic, it's the drunk driver that survives the accident. So it's innocent people that had nothing to do with that situation that are gone.
And you know what I find so tragic is oftentimes they're children.
Mm-hmm. And that's this accident that just happened it wasn't last night, it was the night before last. And it was a young lady she was a passenger in a vehicle, and she's no longer with us. And it's due to a bad decision, a horribly bad decision. And whatever the situation is that this lady made, or the situation that this lady was in that led her to make this decision to go ahead and take this young lady somewhere, we don't know that. And that's the hardest thing about what it is that we do, is we're not inside the minds of every one of these people. We can't just flip a switch and, okay, now they're good. They're not alcoholics anymore.
Sure.
So it's a very big problem, multifaceted, Adults, drinking and driving, 16th highest in the state of New Mexico. That's at 0.3 per 100,000. So in the adult arena, we're having a little bit better decision making. That's less than half of the national rate, which is 1.9. So on that end, we're doing pretty good. And I think what the more alarming rate is what we're looking at with our youth. Youth drinking and driving is the 10th highest in the state of New Mexico. And that's a rate of 9.1. That's almost twice the national rate of 5.5.
Okay, so let's stop right there. Youth driving while intoxicated.
Youth deaths.
Mm-hmm. Deaths.
Alcohol-related youth death.
In our county.
Mm-hmm.
We see the problem. So what's the solution?
Get rid of cars. It seems like the easiest thing. I mean, stopping alcoholism is really difficult. I mean, and it's not necessarily just alcoholism. I think a big part of it when we start to deal with youth is what I talked about earlier, the mental stressors that children face. And I say children, we're talking about kids from, 12, 13 years old up to 18-year-old kids that they have a lot of challenges in their life, and
right.
They're not given the credit that they deserve, and that they're a heck of a lot more intelligent than a lot of people understand.
Right.
I mean, if you think about it, several hundred years ago, the leaders of our country were young. They were in their late teens or they were their early 20s. So they have the intelligence, so they're sold short on that. Then they have the mental challenges of, what is my mom facing, or what is my dad facing, or what is my uncle facing?
Or what am I responsible for? How can I fix it?
Exactly. How can I fix it? What am I supposed to do? Well, is this my fault? A lot of them take that stuff to heart, and it's tough. And to try to, like I said, get inside their mind and flip the switch and say it's not your fault. You can try other ways to help, but don't be a part of it.
Here's my thinking on this. I believe that it's the responsibility of a parent to bring that child to maturity so that when they're at 18 or 20 or whatever, they are ready. They have been taught how to face these problems in life. They've been taught how to deal with these stresses. But the parents oftentimes don't know how to deal with the stresses. Right. And the parents themselves often are an example of how not to deal with stress using drugs and alcohol.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's a big fall. My generation and the generation immediately after me, a lot of them continued to just act out. And I'm a part of that. I wasn't exactly perfect until I was quite a bit later. But we just kind of acted out, and we didn't stop at the teenage years. We just kind of rolled over into our 20s, and we kind of acted out, and we never really took anything seriously that we were being taught by our elders, and that kind of carried over. Now those kids are parents, and they don't know how to teach their kids these skills. Or you have the situation of the grandparents that are raising their kids.
Now I'm going to stop you there. Mm-hmm. Having been involved with literacy volunteers, what I saw, we would get these youngsters that had been expelled from the school, and the schools would not take them back, but the judge said you have to be in an educational program. And what I saw was the parents did not know how to parent their children. Mm-hmm. They had never learned to be a parent because they had not been taught how to be a parent.
Right.
About meals on time and preparing meals and when to do chores and teaching their children some of these things that guide them the rest of their lives. But they were not parenting their children. So that's just what I perceive as part of the problem.
Absolutely. And like I said, you get back to this other situation where now we have grandparents that are raising their grandchildren. And I came from that environment. My grandmother and grandfather raised me. I benefited from that because they raised me very old-fashioned, and they taught me a lot of the skills that I needed to learn from parents. But there's a lot of grandparents that generational gap, they really don't understand it. You know, the grandparents are dealing with their children who, for whatever reason, whether it be legal or mental health or you know, God forbid somebody has passed away, and they're raising their grandchildren, and they don't have that middle person to help them understand the difference in the generational gaps. I mean,
and then their health, they're dealing with their own health issues, they're dealing with their own crises from day to day, and how to deal with these situations is a challenge.
You know, one of the things I try to talk to my kids about, I have 4 boys, and I always try to talk to them about, you know, you have to find moments where you can just put your crazy, chaotic, hectic life aside and just say, hey, we're going to do this together. We're going to work on that. You know, we might be getting something done, being productive, but at the same time, we're setting that wild life aside. You know, we don't bring work home. Right. We shouldn't. And we shouldn't take home to work. We need to separate those things.
That's right.
I think a lot of times, and what I've seen over the years that I've been working in administration, is that a lot of people tend to carry all the stress from work home, and then they carry all that stress from home to work. And it's just, you know, some people can handle it and they deal with it on their own, but they don't realize that it's pouring over onto their kids, and the kids, you know, don't get that attention that they need, or they don't get told, you know what, this is how you deal with these stressors in life, because they don't see their parents dealing with those.
Well, we did a project for Laguna several years ago on domestic violence, and we discovered that a lot of this domestic violence came from alcohol abuse. But what we did is, all those that participated in our program that we did for them, we had a night out. We took them over to the pizza place over here on Stevens, Surf Shack Pizza. And we had... These families had never sat down with their kids and played games with them. So the kids had some money to go play some of these games. We sat down and we had a meal together. And these parents said, we never thought about doing this, having a night out. We called it a date night with our families, right? Playing board games. Dads teaching their youngsters how to change a tire. I mean, and moms teaching their youngsters how to cook. And how important are chores? You know, that a child has a responsibility that's suitable for their age. A little child, I have a great-granddaughter, and her mother sent me a picture of her up on a stool, and she was stirring something she was going to cook, you know, and so she was already, and she's only 5 years old. But she's teaching her that these are the things you need to be doing. And the child was excited. I mean, you could see that she was just as happy as she could be to be able to stir and do those kinds of things. And so I see that relationship between parents and grandparents where they're teaching opportunities that we don't have to call them that, but they can be fun opportunities because we keep those memories. Those children keep those wonderful memories forever, and we need to be able to create those wonderful memories so that when a child comes against this brick wall of stress, they can say, you know, this is not the way that my dad or mom would do it. They would say, why don't you just go read a book? Why don't you just sit back and go play a board game with somebody or play chess or whatever?
Right. And like 100 years, I'm a big historical buff. I love everything. I love looking at what did we do 200 years ago, 300 years ago, and what do we do now? And families didn't work away from home. I mean, families worked at home because there was a lot of responsibility. You didn't eat. You didn't survive if you weren't at home working. Today's generations and stuff, that's not the case. The home is like the least important part. It's having that job to make that income to buy all that food to feed the family. So we have to kind of try to back ourselves up a little bit and do some more of that stuff at home, you know, get in, even though we're not, you know, taking 50,000 acres of land and farming it as a full-time job. You know, grow a small garden. You know, take on a small project where you're gonna, you know, repaint a room, but do it as a group, do it as a family.
Sure.
You know.
So what's the next statistic that we need to look at?
So those are the ones that I really wanted to point out. We have, let's see, we talked about the youth.
But we're in serious trouble here in Cibola County.
We are, and I think that we're on a good path. The Cibola County DWI Task Force. We are meeting regularly. We have multiple agencies that are involved. We're doing saturation patrols. We're doing checkpoints. We're getting into the schools and doing educational programs. We have one coming up here real soon. In the end of this month, the 27th, I believe. We're going to be at the high school. We're going to work with high school seniors. We're going to do an educational day where we'll put up some PowerPoints. We're going to have officers from different agencies there to talk to the youth and interact with them, you know, as human beings, so we can take away that they're the law. No, they're people too, and they care about us just as much. One day, and then we're going to roll over into a second day where we're actually going to do some activities. We'll have some Fatal Vision goggles. We have a new system we developed. It's a paintball, Fatal Vision paintball.
Right. I've seen that.
And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and it really grasps the kids and it gets their attention. So
good. We're
headed that direction. We're going to be doing some fun stuff and getting them actively involved.
Okay, so tell us, you mentioned volunteers. How could a volunteer reach you? How could they, if they wanted to volunteer and they felt very strongly about your program and wanted to be part of the solution, how could they reach you?
I think the best way to reach us is to get onto the website, the Cibola County, CibolaCountyNM.com. Go to the DWI page and take a look at when our next LDWI Planning Council meetings are, when our CDWI Council meetings are, and participate in those meetings. And that'll help people get a really good understanding of what it is that our programs are doing, the direction that we're heading, and they get an opportunity to give their input. Those counselors are worth their weight in gold. If we can get input and get ideas, we can roll those into the things that we do, and hopefully that helps make more of a difference.
Okay.
We're headed in the right direction. So.
Super. Michael, thank you so much for joining us this morning and sharing this time for a cup of coffee, just giving our audience an opportunity to see in depth what you're accomplishing and the challenges you face. And let's just... I see great things happening in the future with our youngsters. So if you need to reach Michael Dodds, he's in the county, Cibola County complex, and he's got a big sign out there in front that says DWI. But you go to their website. Michael, thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely.
And I want to thank you, our audience, for joining us today. Thank you, and remember that this is brought to you by our phenomenal sponsors, including Double J Media Group, Seven Cities Productions, and Comcast.
Fast, reliable internet is here, and it's local.
My name is Robert Windhorst. When my wife went back to school to become a teacher, our internet service was terrible. Sacred Wind came into our area and we signed up. It has great service.
Hi, I'm Amanda Valdez and I am a teacher. Thinking of pursuing my master's degree, I knew that it couldn't have been possible before. Sacred Wind Internet made it possible to obtain my degree online.
Connect 66 Internet. Fast, reliable, and local. Powered by Sacred Wind.
As most of you know, Comcast is leaving grants, and so this will be our last program on Channel 10. However, we're going to continue with our programs on our website. So you can always go to www.sevencitiesproductions.com and see the City Council meeting, see Cibola Treasures, the K-PASA, all of the things that we've done in the past and will continue to do for our community. In addition to that, you can see us on Facebook. You can also go to Google and see our programs on Google. So keep in mind that we're still here and we're going to be serving you, the public of Cibola County.